All right, guys, so today we're going to be drawing our Georgia O'Keeffe inspired flowers. So I have these printouts of flower photos for you to look at if you want ideas. So the first thing you're going to do is choose a photo to look at, and then we're going to sketch our flower on our gray paper with a pencil first. So remember, all of her flowers were from a pretty close-up perspective. So if any of these flowers are not close up enough for you, you can always kind of like draw it bigger than what's in the actual photo. So I think for mine, I'm just gonna do this kind of little flower with the sort of rounded petals. So you're gonna draw your basic shape first. So for me, I have a circle in the center and then kind of these like pointed ovals around the edge. So I'm just gonna sketch out my circle in the middle. And we want this to be pretty big, so my circle's pretty big. And then from there, I'm gonna start sketching out my petals. So your petals are probably gonna go off your paper. If you have any spots where they don't go off your paper, that's okay too. So like here, I have some areas where my paper is gonna show the edge of my flower petals, and some spots where the petals are gonna go off the paper. All right, so I've got my basic shapes kind of sketched out. And then if you have details like these kind of like lines on the petals or all of these little details in the center, we're not gonna do that yet. We will add those with our oil pastel. All right, so then after you have your sketch done, you're gonna trace all your pencil lines with a white oil pastel. All right, so next you're gonna decide what you want the main color of your petals to be. So we're gonna call this the local color. So for me, I think I want my main color to be pink for my petals. So then I'm gonna choose a darker and a lighter version of pink. So red would be my darker version of pink, and then peach would be my lighter version of pink. So when I put them all in a line, it goes from darkest to lightest. So you can do the same thing with any color. For example, if you do green, if you want your local color to be green, let's say, you can use a darker green for the darker, and then you could use a yellow for the lighter. So whatever your local color is, you're gonna start with the darkest first, and you're gonna color kind of like upward lines for the shadow. So I'm gonna do my best to stay off of the white oil pastel, but if you get some on top, then we can trace over it at the end. So I'm shading kind of like jagged lines for my shadow. And this is about the bottom third of my petals. So then I'm gonna take my local color or my main color, and I'm gonna cross over my red and blend it up into the pink. And I want this to be about another third, maybe even a little bit more, since this is my main color. And I'm coloring over the red. Cross up into your petal. And don't forget to leave that jagged line at the top so it blends really easily. Okay, and then my last color is this peach color. This is my highlight color. So I'm gonna cross over the pink and finish the rest of my petal with the peach. All right, so then I would repeat this for the rest of my petals. All right, so then for the center of your flower, we're gonna do the same thing. except with 3 different colors. So I think I want my local color to be this kind of orange color. So then I'm gonna choose a darker orange, and then I can do yellow for my brighter. So I put them in order, darkest to lightest. This time I've got a circle shape. So I'm gonna start with my darkest around the edge of my circle. Then my local color, I'm gonna cross over the edge of that orange and do another row around with the lighter orange. And then my last color is yellow. Okay, so then at this point, if you had any details that you want to include in your flower, like mine has these kind of like stripes going up through the flower, I can tell that there are darker value. So I'm going to use my shadow color, and I'm just going to kind of draw some of those lines in there. You could also leave this part off if you just want your petals to be plain colors. That's okay too. But I just wanted mine to have a little bit more detail throughout. So I'm gonna add some of those shadow lines with my shadow color. And then if you wanna include something like the little texture inside the center of your flower, you could get another shadow color. So I used orange as my shadow color in this one. I don't know if that will show up very well, so I might choose something just a little bit darker. Like maybe I'll use a brown, and I might just kind of create that like seed texture with little circles in there. So again, this is optional. If you want to leave it off, you can, or you can add this to yours. All right, so then if you have background space like I do around my flower, we're going to use chalk pastel for that to cover up the gray paper. So if your flower is completely zoomed in and takes up your whole paper, you do not need to do this step. So I'm gonna choose a color for my background. I think I'm gonna choose this bright green color. And I'm gonna lay the chalk on its side and then just shade a little bit of color around my flower in the background. And I'm not even trying to cover up all the green paper. We're gonna blend it in to kind of smooth out and cover the gray. So all you really need to do is add chalk around anywhere that you see background showing through. I'm trying to be super careful not to get it on the actual flower. You can try to cover it up a little bit, but if it sticks too much, sometimes it changes the color of your flower. So we're just gonna be really careful. All right. Then I can get a paper towel, and I'm gonna kind of twist it up so it's a little small area and just smooth that out, being really careful not to get it on my flower, but just kind of smoothing it out so that I'm covering my gray paper. All right, so then at the very end, you're gonna take your white oil pastel and you're just gonna trace everything one more time. All right, so there is our finished Georgia O'Keeffe project. So when you are at this point, you can put it away and clean up your area.